From a new book out of the Obama administration to a crass remark about Ivanka Trump by Samantha Bee, it has been a very busy week.
So what does the host of Life, Liberty, and Levin, Mark Levin, have to say about all of this?
How about busy day? I sat down with him to talk about that.
If somebody had said that about Chelsea Clinton, if somebody had said that about either of the Obama daughters, the nation in unison would be repulsed.
Samantha Bee did apologize for her comment and using that word to describe Ivanka Trump. Your reaction?
Yeah, and Roseanne Barr apologized too. She should be fired. She is a vile, disgusting person. It's not even a question of comedy. It's just a matter of what you say about the president's daughter. Who the hell talks this way? Seriously, she should be fired. Take her apology with her.
Mark, let's move on to some pardons that are coming down this week. Dinesh D'Souza gets a pardon. Are you for that?
What Dinesh D'Souza did not warrant 20 months, give or take, in a federal prison. That's not how those cases are normally handled. The radical left-wing Democrat who was U.S. attorney there in the Southern District of New York, Comey's buddy, Mueller's buddy, the buddy of that crowd, went after him. Went after Dinesh D'Souza. And the president looked at this, and the pardon power is in there for a president to intervene if he thinks he should. And he said, you know what? I'm not buying this. I don't like what was done to him, and I'm pardoning him. I'm not going to react to the left-wing conspiracy kooks out there. They're going to be there no matter what happens. This is why I like this president. He does what he believes in, and he's doing the right thing. They deserved pardons, in my humble opinion, as part of the justice system, what was done to them. Sometimes injustices are actually done to conservatives and Republicans. And in this case, that's the case.
It looks as though back again is Attorney General Jeff Sessions. Trey Gowdy said, if I'm Attorney General Jeff Sessions, I'd probably leave the job because I'm not going to be serving the president well. How do you feel about now, even though it's almost a year later, the Russia investigation goes on and Jeff Sessions still has that job? Where do you stand, Mark?
Well, I've known Jeff Sessions for 30 years. We worked together at the Justice Department. He was U.S. Attorney. I was Chief of Staff, and I like him very, very much. I think he made a terrible mistake here. I agree. If he was going to recuse himself, he probably shouldn't have taken the job. Or if he did recuse himself, what he did, he probably should have stepped down. The president has a right to an attorney general of his choosing. But I would say to Trey Gowdy, maybe you ought to step down a little quicker, too. Your nonsense about this not being a spy, but an informant. And in criminal cases, we call them informants. It's not a criminal case. It's a counterintelligence case. Don't you know the difference? You're a former federal prosecutor. They don't want to call him a spy. And now they're telling us, you know, the Trump campaign was never investigated. Let me suggest that Mr. Gowdy and Mr. Rubio and some of the others go back and listen to the testimony of Mr. Comey himself in March of 2017, in which he said in front of the House Intelligence Committee that, among other things, the Trump campaign is under investigation. What's wrong with these guys? They're handed information about a spy. They should be concerned about these police state tactics, but they never are. Instead, they want to vote to protect Mueller. How about you vote to protect the Constitution? You want to investigate Russia's influence in our elections? Why don't you investigate the Obama administration that turned a blind eye to it, that was in charge when the Russians were interfering with our election, rather than the victims? The victims, that is, the Trump people.
You just gave me a perfect segue to an excerpt in the New York Times this week of a brand new book that's out by Ben Rhodes, who was a close aide to the president, especially when it came to foreign policy. Evidently, Ben Rhodes got permission to talk about what he was talking about after the election came down. One of the things that President Obama speculated was maybe I came along 10 years too early. And my assumption is he means the country wasn't ready for him. Do you believe the country wasn't ready for President Obama?
I believe the country's never been ready for President Obama, because when you want to fundamentally transform a country, you know what that means, Brian? That means you don't love your country. You want to fundamentally transform a country. What do you want to do? Fundamentally transform its economy from capitalism to something else? Fundamentally transform its government from a constitutional republic to something else? We've never been able to hold these leftists, and Obama included, to their definition of fundamental transformation. When you love your wife, you don't say, you know what, honey, I want to fundamentally transform you. Or when you love your kids, I want to fundamentally transform you, your kids. That sounds pretty weird to me. So maybe America has never been ready for Barack Obama. And should never be ready for Barack Obama.
And he also called this president, when he was a nominee, a cartoon. What's your reaction to President Obama calling President Trump a cartoon?
I'll take a cartoon over a leftist any day of the week. And let me tell you something about this cartoon. This cartoon has stood up to the North Koreans. He has stood up to the Iranians. He stood up to the Chinese. He stood up to the Russians. Nothing Obama was capable of doing. He didn't surveil the Prime Minister of Israel like Obama did, or Jewish groups like Obama did, or members of Congress like Obama did. He hasn't used the IRS against his political opponents like Obama did. He wouldn't have stood still for Benghazi the way Obama did. He wouldn't have undermined the United States military the way Obama did, or undermined local police forces the way Obama did, or stuffed our courts with left-wing law professors the way Obama did. Cartoon character? I don't think we need lectures from Barack Obama, quite frankly.
Mark Levin on his game. Former President Obama shell-shocked over President Trump's 2016 election win. How do we know? Ben Rhodes told us in his new memoir. Ben Rhodes was Mr. Everything for the president, especially on foreign policy. One of the quotes I thought was noteworthy I want to share with you before we bring in a guest. He said this, according to Ben Rhodes, about the president. Maybe this is what people want, meaning President Trump being elected. I've got the economy set up well for him. No facts, no consequences. They can just have a cartoon. My sense is the president's a cartoon. Let's join Bill Bennett now, former education secretary for Ronald Reagan, and has done so much more. So that's what he really thought. It sounded like he said it to an interviewer. That's what he told to Ben Rhodes in confidence. What do you think about the fact that he thinks that?
Yeah, well, this cartoon character came to life and is refuting and taking on just about everything that Obama stood for. Look, they were in shock. They couldn't believe it. But a lot of the country was in shock. I still replay those network tears from election night. But no, they're surprised. Look, no one was more assured of his own rightness than Barack Obama. So when this occurred, they were, the reaction was, how could this happen? Note, though, I understand, I never read the book, Brian, that they then say, or Rhodes says, well, of course, it was Hillary who was running on the same campaign we beat her on. So they're always right, and our side's always wrong.
Yeah, so he said, yeah, well, I should have known that Hillary was vulnerable because that's how we beat her in 2008.
Right,
attacking her the way he did, except for they factored in that Donald Trump used racism and other things. So that's an additional hit. I want to bring you to this quote. President Obama, maybe we push too far. Maybe people just want to fall back into their tribe. What do you think he means by that?
I think he means what we caught him on tape earlier in the administration when he talked about guns and religion and so on. He is, has been rightly described as a transnational agnostic liberal. And here the American people still clinging to flag, to country, to their faith, to their guns. And he just doesn't understand it. Remember early on in the administration, this is when these great giveaways, when he talked about how bad the economy was under Bush, and he said, Mom goes to the market and look at the price of arugula. Arugula? A lot of Americans said, what the heck is arugula? This is a guy, who goes to all the right places, went to all the right universities, doesn't quite understand what the American people are about. Never got it. Can I just insert the one I liked that I heard was when he tried to explain to Rhodes or comfort him. He said, Ben, there are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand. Huh. Profound. What exactly does that tell you?
I don't know. Maybe I'm not deep enough.
You're not deep enough. Hey, Tom Brady says to Belichick, why did we lose to the Eagles? There are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand. No, the Eagles were better.
Yeah,
Trump was better.
They got more points than us, and the guy who ran that we couldn't tape their practices like we did earlier.
This is dumbness posing as profundity, is what it is. Yeah.
All right, Bill, it's fascinating. I'm looking forward to reading it. I don't love when presidents criticize other presidents, but you can't blame Barack Obama here. That's what he was saying to his aide. Thanks so much, Bill. I appreciate it.
Always good to see you. Good to see you. Bye.
In case you missed it, it's all Donald Trump's fault. Everything. Name something bad, he's the reason. Climate change, his fault. Asteroids, his fault. Earthquakes, those faults are his faults. A little wordplay for Saturday nights. You don't get that in Water's World. Every bad thing ever. I love Jesse. Everything bad ever is on the head of this evil orange monster from hell. especially if you're the media. Take these images of immigrant children sleeping in cages. Journalists, politicians, Obama flacks, they all blame Trump. Turns out the photos are 4 years old when Obama was in charge. Whoops. Then there's, this is even better, this photo. An all-baby seat immigration detention bus, also blamed on Trump. It was called a prison bus for babies by an anchor. A prison bus for babies. How could anyone say that with a straight face and believe it? A journalist. I mean, who would make a prison bus for babies? It's the craziest thing I've ever heard. A prison bus for babies. But you'll believe anything if you hate Trump, even though this photo was also from Obama's era, and no, it wasn't a prison bus for babies. It's for a field trip. Anyway, now I'd expect the media to check the date on a photo. I mean, that is their job, to check actual facts. It's almost as though they need some kind of help.
Hey, Tom, what's up?
Look at this. Immigrant children sleeping in cages on the floor. And how about this? A prison bus just for babies. If this doesn't prove how evil and heartless Donald Trump is, nothing will.
Well, I just looked it up, and that cage photo is from 2014. And that bus, it's for field trips, and it's from April 2016.
Wow. Just think, I was about to tweet this out to the public.
Sounds like you need a Veriscope.
What's that?
The Veriscope will help you see things clearly for what they really are, without an agenda. But first, I need to test you. I'll show you some pictures. Tell me if you see any news value in them.
That's a soldier getting rowdy during Fleet Week. It's Trump's fault.
It's 1945, the day we won World War II. Try this one.
That's a woman upset about the current political climate. I can tell because she's not smiling.
It's Mona Lisa, 1503. How about this one?
I'll recognize that anywhere. That's the day Trump was elected. I saw that guy in Brooklyn.
It's the Scream, 1893. Last one.
That's a monster attacking Japan. You see? Trump is even terrorizing foreign countries.
It's Godzilla. Well, the good news is you do qualify for a Veriscope.
Wow. Does it have special powers?
No, it's just a giant magnifying glass, but it will help you pull your head out of your ass.
Ever since I started using Veriscope, I approach everything with more honesty.
Hey, Tom, how's it going?
Hey, Carl. Seeing your stupid face is the worst part of my day. Thanks, Veriscope.
Veriscope, for when you need to check your facts before you tweet something stupid.
Now, first off, David, Tom Shalhoub has the best walking around a corner into a hallway look of any commercial actor. I think you could learn something from him.
He is known through the industry.
Yes, for walking down the hall.
Specialty move, yeah.
Yeah, you're angry. This bothers you. I've seen you on Twitter, not as much anymore, but you hate when there's a false story. You get very upset.
Yeah, the news media is awful.
Yes.
And we all used to know that.
Yeah.
5 years ago, you'd be like, CNN's terrible. And everyone would be like, yeah, we know that. And now you're like, CNN's terrible because Trump hates them. We all got to be like, oh, no, they're great. We have to uphold this First Amendment and all this stuff. It's like, no. Have you seen Don Lemon's show? That's not journalism. His entire show is an expert panel explaining to him what happened on Anderson Cooper.
So true. That is so true.
You're in trouble now.
Kat, isn't it just easier to blame Trump for everything? I'm sure some of your own disappointments in life you could trace to Trump.
I'm going to start doing that.
Yes.
This whole thing where I get upset with myself for my bad choices is becoming very exhausting. And this whole thing where I've apologized when I've done something wrong, I'm not doing that anymore. Next time I do something wrong, I'm just going to blame it on Trump. And I know that a huge segment of the population will apparently believe me without even checking.
Yes.
I'm never going to say, hey, like, sorry, I don't know, vaped on your baby on accident. You know, for example. I'll just say that Trump made me do it, and the next thing you know, I'll be some sort of victim.
I vaped on your baby.
Is that a euphemism?
Sometimes they come out of nowhere.
Yes, the babies come at
Come
you
out of
while
nowhere.
you're vaping.
Yeah.
I vaped on a baby. Tyrus, there's so many examples of this, like when an entire opinion shifts when you introduce one variable, like prison reform. Prison reform, Trump was for that, but liberals weren't because Trump was for it. It's weird.
Yeah, well, it was the question. The question was weird.
You've been here for 3 years. I never ask questions.
Okay, no, you asked me the questions. This is weird because it's not about black people in sports. Oh, all like he does it.
Wow.
Like I'm the leading official on Dennis Rodman and Whoopi Goldberg for him. It's I don't know, man. It's just it's convenient. But this is what if you listen to the people there. These are the same people that when Obama was in, everything that happened to him was Obama's fault. Like there's just a certain sect of people that everything in their life is not their fault. And whenever you have a conversation with, they usually lead with statements like, "You made me upset," or it's because of you that I'm screaming loud and not going to bed at a decent time and always making our relationship difficult. It's you. So, I mean, I don't know if anyone knows anybody like that, but I've come across a few people. It's not necessarily Donald Trump. He's just convenient now.
Yeah.
He's the new, Trump's the new Munson. You know what I mean? I got Trumped out in the middle of nowhere. You know, Trump is the easy guy to blame. And if you blame him for something and he hears you, chances are he'll fight you back.
Yeah.
So you get your audience,
yeah.
you know?
In a weird way, Trump is like the weather. Trump is like the weather. You walk outside, Trump!
Yep.
Well, but I mean, right. I mean, I guess that's, I don't know if you do that, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, Trump also takes credit for everything.
That's true.
So he says, only I can fix it. I alone can do this. So in a way, it's a perfect relationship with him and the media. They're getting the president they desperately, desperately deserve, and they're getting it good and hard.
Very good point. You know, solution for cable news, they got to get rid of like the lower thirds that say Republican political consultant or a Democratic analyst.
Strategist. Or whatever it is.
Get rid of that. Just go, I hate Trump. And then, like, I'm okay with the guy because that's basically what it is, guys. Most of America's like, hey, let's see what happens, as he says so many times. But the other side is, I can't stand him. Thank God that never happens on the 5.
No.